Chapter 14, Tuesday, March 13th, money saved, $60.06. Mom's color printer puts out paper. I woke up early to print out 100 of my awesome You Oughta Call Auto flyers. I almost missed the school bus. I kept pacing as the printer spat out one copy, and another, and another, and another. "I hope you're not using all of my ink," yelled Mom from the kitchen. Uh-oh. "No," I answered, although I only printed 56 flyers because the printer ran out of toner. I didn't know how much ink costs. I added a line to my notebook. "Use Mom's printer cartridges. I owe her money." I'd need to look up cartridge costs later. But I needed the flyers now. To be successful, you have to promote yourself. I thought about hiring a blimp, but I figured those were pretty expensive, and I didn't know where you could rent a blimp. So instead, I passed my flyers out everywhere. I gave them to my teachers. I passed them out to kids. "I walk my own dog," said Sylvester Stringer when I handed him a flyer. "If you break your legs, call me," I said. The janitor had just mopped the floors so they were slippery, but unfortunately Sylvester didn't fall and break anything. I even taped flyers on the wall, many right next to Lexi's tutoring signs. My small pages looked pretty wimpy compared to her large glittery poster boards, but I taped 10 of my signs around just one of hers, which helped. "If your dog needs walking, you ought to call Otto," I said to Tara Wilson, who was reading one of my signs. "I don't own a dog," she said. "Then get one," I suggested, "and then call me to walk it." She rolled her eyes and walked away, so I don't think she was going to get a dog anytime soon. But if she did, I bet I would have been the first person she called. I arrived at my 4 o'clock appointment exactly on time, except I had told Mrs. Brownstone I would be there at 3:30. Apparently, I wrote down the wrong time. She grumbled but handed me the leash to Truman, a black and white border collie. I once read that border collies make the best frisbee catching dogs. I was sure Truman would be great at it. He looked like a small ball of energy, ready to leap a mile. "Maybe we could enter frisbee catching competitions. Those must pay serious prize money." His ears stood at attention, and he kept walking faster than me. He was a runner, no doubt about it. So when we got to the park and saw a guy tossing a frisbee to his dog, I asked if Truman could have a turn. "Why not?" said the guy, handing me the disc. I waved the frisbee under Truman's nose so he could sniff it. He wagged his tail and nuzzled his nose against the plastic edge. He was going to be an exceptional frisbee catcher. You can tell those things. "Ready, boy?" I asked. Truman barked. "Let's show this guy what you're made of." Frisbee dogs. Those are probably the best kind of dogs if you thought about it. I hurled that disc as far as I could. I whipped that thing 1.5 miles. Then I let go of the leash. Truman took off like a jet plane, except with loud barks instead of loud engines. "Go, boy, go!" I screamed. Truman kept running and running and running. "Come back, boy, come back!" I whimpered. I sprinted after him. I couldn't believe I had another runaway dog. I caught up with Truman a block away. He sat under a tree, panting as if nothing had happened, with no frisbee in sight. I wasn't taking any chances with my next dog, Jetson. The responsible Otto didn't take chances, at least the mostly responsible Otto. I was 45 minutes late picking him up because I couldn't read my writing, and I dropped Truman off late, and I stopped home for a snack. And I didn't realize how long it would take me to get from one house to the other. But Mr. Finley didn't seem to mind. At least he didn't mind too much. Jetson was a sandy-colored Labrador retriever. He was a big dog, a strong dog, a serious dog with a serious expression. He stood straight with his chin up. He didn't seem like the type to run away. Besides, they wouldn't call them retrievers if they didn't retrieve things and bring them back, right? We could enter fetching competitions and make extra cash. But I wasn't taking any chances, not this time. I was too responsible for that. So when I saw the perfect fetching stick next to the sidewalk, I knew I was going to toss it. But I wasn't going to let Jetson go. I wrapped the leash around my hand. I hurled the stick as far as I could. We'd get it. Together. "Fetch, boy!" I yelled. "Fetch!" That went well for the first 3 steps, Judson running and me sprinting alongside him until I tripped. Judson didn't stop, though. He dragged me behind him, my arms flailing, my legs trying to get under me, but instead bouncing wildly. "Stop! Wait!" I cried, my bum skimming across the grass. "No! Ow! Please!" I bumbled, twisting to avoid a rock, but retrieving dogs love to retrieve, I guess. We stopped 2 blocks later so Judson could pee on a fire hydrant. Standing on my shaky legs, I removed the stick from his mouth. "Good boy," I panted. "Good boy." I was done with the throwing things, whether they were sticks or frisbees or whatever. But that was okay. Fergie wasn't the frisbee catching or stick fetching type anyway. She was a cream-colored, brown-spotted cockapoo. She was a shaggy little dog and looked so innocent you would want to scratch her ears and pet and pet and pet her. Innocent petting dogs. Now those were the best kind of dogs if you ask me. Dogs attract people, especially cute, innocent-looking dogs like Fergie. Every block or so, kids would run up to us and pet her. Some kids asked first, but others just started petting, which gave me an idea of how I could make more cash. And I didn't even have to enter any fetching or catching contests. No, this was a responsible way to earn money. "Can I pet your dog?" asked a boy running up. He looked to be in 2nd grade or so. He was a bit of a mess. His shoes were untied and he had a big blue stain on his half-tucked-in white t-shirt, but he looked perfect to me. "What's your name, kid?" I asked. "Fisher." "Fisher, I'll tell you what. How'd you like to not just pet the dog, but walk her?" "Really?" His face lit up. You'd think I had just asked if he wanted to celebrate Christmas twice a year instead of usual once. "Well, the You Oughta Call Otto's dog walking service is having a special today. For just $2, you can walk this dog for 3 whole minutes. You won't find a bargain like that just anywhere." Fisher's happy smile immediately ducked behind a rain cloud. "I don't have $2. "Then you better run home and get cash and tell your friends. $2 for your very own once-in-a-lifetime dog walking experience." I was a genius. If I had really long arms, I would have patted myself on the back. I walked Fergie back and forth for a few minutes until Fisher returned. He waved 2 $1 bills in the air. 3 other boys were with him, too. They all carried money. Fisher handed me his bills first. "Tooth fairy money," he explained. "A smart investment, kid," I assured him. "The tooth fairy would be proud." I handed over the leash. "Here you go. 3 minutes, starting now. And whatever you do, don't let go of the leash." I started counting the seconds in my head. Fisher had obviously never walked a dog before. He seemed nervous. He walked slowly and held the leash out far away from him as possible. "Relax, kid. She won't bite, probably." Fisher walked Fergie for only about a minute before giving the leash back to me. I collected each kid's dough while they took turns. Easy money. After everyone had a turn, I threw them a big smile. "Thanks, guys. I'll be back. Same time tomorrow. Tell your friends. You ought to call Otto's dog walking service. Just $3 a walk." "I thought it was $2, moaned Fisher. "Supply and demand, kid," I said, patting my pocket, crammed with cash. So I felt pretty good about my first full day of business. I had money in my pocket and a money-making dog-sharing side job. Now that the You Oughta Call Otto dog walking service was up and running, my dog walking empire was growing by frisbee leaping leaps. As I walked home, I passed Mrs. McCluskey from down the street, unloading grocery bags from her car. Mrs. McCluskey lived by herself and was pretty old. The bags looked heavy, but as you know, I was pretty good at bag carrying from my Schnood's grocery store days. So I carried her last bag into the kitchen, and I didn't even ask to be paid for helping. That's because the new responsible Otto did nice things for people. The new responsible Otto didn't let dogs run away. He did good deeds. He cleaned up at home, and he didn't fight with his sister. Well, let's not get too carried away. Lexi was tutoring in the kitchen when I came home. I didn't recognize the girl next to her, but the girl looked frustrated. "Just try it again," said Lexi. "It's too hard." "No, it's not, Shelby," insisted Lexi, clearly annoyed. "Yes, it is." Shelby whined. Fine, I'll just do it, Lexi said with a big grunt. She slid the girl's worksheet in front of her and wrote down an answer. No wonder kids liked having Lexi tutor them. She did their work for them. Lexi looked up at me and growled. What are you looking at? Nothing, I sneered right back at her. Maybe Little Miss Perfect wasn't so perfect at all. I'm surprised you have time to tutor, though. This was my chance for a little Lexi bashing. Have you made up the 3 tests you flunked last week? Shelby gasped and grabbed her worksheet back from Lexi. I did not flunk 3 tests, Lexi snarled and snatched the paper back. Right, it was 4, I said. Silly me. Shelby tried to grab her paper again, but Lexi lifted it out of her reach. He's kidding, she hissed. I've never flunked a test in my life. Shelby didn't seem convinced. She reached for her homework, but Lexi threw daggers with her eyes. Don't even think of touching this homework. The girl put her hand down and sat rigid in her seat, quivering. Okay, she squeaked. You can have it. Lexi was writing down answers as I left the room. I sort of felt bad about being mean to Lexi, but just a little. A very, very little. Our next chapter is chapter 15, Wednesday, March 14th. Money saved, $86.06.